Millionaire dresses as a beggar and infiltrates a beauty contest to find a girlfriend. But what happens after this decision will change everyone's lives. Oliver Harrington watched the dazzling glow of the party happening in his mansion in Brighton. The twinkling lights reflected off crystal glasses as laughter echoed through the luxurious halls. However, he felt like a ghost, surrounded by smiling faces that, to him, were merely masks. The superficiality of the world around him suffocated him. It was as if, despite being surrounded by people, he was completely alone. As he looked out the window, he saw the city pulsating outside, with its stories and lives that seemed more authentic than the futility of that night. "Why are you still here, Oliver? Everyone is having fun." Tom, his best friend and confidant, approached with a glass of champagne in hand. The concern in his eyes was evident. "I can't take this anymore, Tom." "It's all so empty," Oliver replied, running a hand through his hair. "I want to feel what it's like to truly live, far from this bubble of wealth and appearances." Tom raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What are you thinking of doing? You can't just drop everything like that." Oliver turned to face Tom, determination shining in his eyes. "I want to disguise myself as a beggar. I want to see what life is like on the streets, away from glamour and superficiality. I need a genuine connection with people." "Are you crazy? This could be dangerous," Tom exclaimed, hesitating. "What if you get into trouble? People aren't as kind as you think." "I know, but I need to try. I can't keep living this life of lies and fake smiles. I want to understand what people really go through." The sincerity in Oliver's voice silenced Tom for a moment as he reflected. "If you're determined, I'll help you," Tom finally said. "But you need to be careful. I don't want you to get hurt." Oliver smiled, grateful. "Thank you, Tom. I promise I'll be cautious." The idea of disguising himself excited him, and the adrenaline of a new beginning seemed to pulse through his veins. In the following days, Oliver prepared for his transformation. He bid farewell to his millionaire appearance, trading his expensive suits for tattered and worn clothes. Looking in the mirror, the reflected image seemed strange yet liberating at the same time. The man he saw was no longer the heir to a fortune, but rather Joe, a beggar in search of answers. "Are you ready for the big day?" Tom asked, watching Oliver as he adjusted the tattered hat on his head. "More than ever," Oliver replied, taking a deep breath. "I'm ready to discover what life really is outside this gilded prison." With his heart racing, he left the house, feeling the fresh Brighton breeze on his face. Each step he took toward the city reminded him of the freedom he so desperately desired. He wanted to see the world with new eyes, to experience the struggle and resilience of those living on the margins of society. Oliver walked through the streets, feeling the gaze of people upon him. Some ignored him, while others seemed to analyze his presence. He sat on a park bench observing the bustle around him. People rushed by, each with their worries, dreams, and sorrows. Amidst the noise of the city, Oliver heard a soft laugh that caught his attention. He turned his head and saw a young woman helping a group of beggars. There was something special about how she interacted with them, a genuine smile and a gaze filled with compassion. "Hi, are you okay?" she asked an elderly man who looked dejected. "I am now with you around," the man replied, smiling shyly. Oliver felt a wave of warmth in his chest. He didn't know who that young woman was, but he knew he wanted to meet her. The connection he sought seemed just a few steps away. He decided to approach her, a hesitant smile on his face. "Hi, I'm Joe," he said, trying to mimic the humility he had observed in others. "Nice to meet you, Joe. I'm Emma," she replied, extending her hand. "Have you been here long?" "No, I just arrived. I'm trying to understand what life is like here," Oliver said, feeling more at ease with each word. Emma smiled, and something inside him ignited. It was a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. The hope that maybe, just maybe, he could find the genuine connection he had been seeking. Oliver Harrington, now under the identity of Joe, walked through the streets of Brighton, observing the movement around him with a mix of curiosity and compassion. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the city, but everything seemed different to him. The colors were more vibrant, the sounds clearer, and human interactions, even the simplest ones, carried a depth he had never perceived before. He passed groups of people, some laughing, others talking, and felt more like a spectator than a participant. Yet at the same time, a bridge was being built between him and those who lived on the streets. "Hey Joe, are you hungry?" A rough voice interrupted his thoughts. It was a weathered-looking man wearing a friendly smile. "We have some bread here, if you'd like." "Thank you, but I'm okay for now," Oliver replied, trying to keep his voice steady and convincing. He was learning to blend in, to maintain the facade of a beggar, but the genuine kindness of that group began to dismantle his defenses. As he continued his walk, he spotted a young woman helping a small group of beggars. Her eyes lit up with compassion as she distributed food and chatted with each of them. It was Emma Davies. Oliver stopped, intrigued. He had never seen someone so dedicated and kind. She had an aura that attracted people, a light that seemed to shine even amidst the darkness of hardship. "Hi everyone, how are you doing today?" Emma asked, crouching beside an elderly man holding a thin cat in his lap. "Here's some food for you all. And don't forget to take care of your friend here too. You're a true angel, Emma," the man said, tears in his eyes. "God bless you." Oliver watched silently, admiring how she cared for those whom society often ignored. He felt an urge to approach her, to introduce himself as Joe, but hesitated. What could he offer? Perhaps just a shy smile. "Hi, are you new around here?" Emma turned to Oliver, who was standing at a respectful distance. She smiled. "You look a bit lost." I'm just trying to find a place," Oliver replied, controlling his voice to keep his true identity hidden. "It's hard sometimes." "Yeah, it really is. But you're not alone. There's always someone here who can help," she said, extending her hand in a gesture of friendship. "What's your name?" "Joe," he replied, feeling that this simple introduction was an important step. "And you?" "Emma. It's a pleasure to meet you, Joe. If you need anything, I'm here. We're organizing a community event this week. If you want, you can join us." Her offer was unexpected. Oliver felt a wave of emotion. He wanted to get closer to her, to learn more, but at the same time, the idea of opening up and revealing his true identity terrified him. I don't know if I'm the kind of person who should go to an event like that," he said, trying to pull back. "I don't have much to offer." "You don't need to. What matters most is the intention. Everyone has a story and a place in this world. Come, it'll be fun," Emma insisted, her smile lighting up the room. He hesitated for a moment, but the warmth and sincerity in her eyes encouraged him. "All right, I'll go. Thank you, Emma." "Great, I'll be waiting for you. And don't worry, you'll do just fine," she said with a radiant smile before turning back to the other homeless people, leaving Oliver reflecting on how a simple conversation could change everything. As he walked through the city, he couldn't stop thinking about Emma. Her kindness was inspiring, and the connection he felt with her was something he had never experienced before. He wondered what his life would be like if he could truly be himself with her, without the shadows of his past and the pressure of his wealth. With these thoughts in mind, he knew that Brighton was not just a new place. It was a new beginning. In the days that followed their first meeting, Oliver, now under the identity of Joe, and Emma became inseparable. Every moment they spent together was a new discovery, a new exchange of stories and laughter. One day, they sat on a weathered wooden bench in the central square of Brighton, the setting sun casting a golden light over them. Emma, with her enthusiastic manner, was excited to tell Oliver about her latest initiative to raise funds for her mother's health. "You won't believe it, Joe. The community support group got together to organize an animal adoption fair. We'll be selling cakes, and all the proceeds will go towards treatment for those in need." "I'm so excited," Emma exclaimed, her eyes shining with hope. Oliver smiled, admiring the passion she had for helping others. "That's amazing, Emma. You really have a heart of gold. I wish I could help more." His tone was sincere, but inside, he struggled with the duality of his life. He wanted to be the man Emma saw, but the truth of who he really was still weighed on his conscience. "You've already helped more than you realize, Joe. Sometimes just being present and listening is what people need most. You have a way of comforting others," Emma replied, running her hand through her hair in a nervous gesture. She looked at him, assessing his thoughtful expression. "I just hope we can do more. Life is so hard for so many people, and I feel like I'm not doing enough." Before we continue with this exciting story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories. And let us know which city you're watching this video from in the comments. The sparkle in Emma's eyes made Oliver feel a pang of pain. He wanted to open his heart and tell her about his true identity, but the fear of losing everything he had built with her paralyzed him. He wondered if Emma would still see him the same way if she knew he was a millionaire, living a life of excess and superficiality. In the days that followed, Oliver found himself falling more in love with Emma's kindness and determination. He watched her as she organized community events, interacting with people from all walks of life. "Her life is so full of purpose," Oliver thought, feeling like an intruder in his own lie. One afternoon, while walking along the shoreline, Emma shared a part of her story. "I've always had to fight. My mom got sick when I was a teenager, and since then the responsibility of taking care of her has fallen on me. Sometimes I feel so alone in this world," she said, her eyes lost in the vastness of the sea. "You're not alone, Emma. You have a strong heart, and that's more important than anything," Oliver replied, trying to encourage her. However, his words felt empty compared to the weight of his own reality. "Sometimes I just wish I had someone who completely understood me," Emma confessed, turning to Oliver. "Someone who could help me carry this burden." He felt an urge to hug her, to wrap her in his warmth and protect her from everything that hurt her. But the truth loomed there like a shadow, reminding him that he wasn't the man she thought he was. Meanwhile, Victoria James, the contest organizer, began to notice the growing connection between Emma and Joe. In a conversation with one of her assistants, she murmured, "Those two are getting too close. We need to be careful. If this continues, it could ruin all my plans." Oblivious to Victoria's machinations, Oliver continued to lose himself in Emma's company. However, he couldn't escape his own thoughts. One stormy night, while they sheltered under an awning, he decided he needed to be honest with her. "Emma, I need to tell you something." The tension in his voice made her stop and look into his eyes, curious and concerned at the same time. "About what, Joe?" He took a deep breath, struggling against the words that felt so heavy. "About who I am. I'm not just a homeless person. The truth is, I come from a very different world." "Joe, you can tell me anything. I trust you," Emma insisted. But Oliver hesitated, doubt consuming him. He knew that by revealing his true identity, he could lose not only Emma's trust, but also the love that was beginning to blossom between them. Oliver sat on a weathered wooden bench, watching the movement in the street. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of red, but his heart was heavy. He knew that the situation with Victoria was becoming increasingly complicated. When she approached him earlier, her words still echoed in his mind. The woman was cunning and wouldn't hesitate to use any information she had to manipulate the situation. "I know who you really are, Oliver Harrington," Victoria had said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "And I can guarantee that if you don't play by my rules, your little game of being a beggar and that connection with Emma could end very badly." The threat left him unsettled. He didn't want Emma to get involved in his complicated life, much less be harmed because of him. With a deep sigh, Oliver began to think about how to handle the situation. Next to him, Tom, his best friend, was keenly observing his expressions. "You look too worried, Oliver." "What happened?" Tom asked, crossing his arms, his gaze fixed on his friend. "Victoria," Oliver replied, his voice low. "She knows who I am and she's trying to manipulate me. She wants me to help her control the contest by threatening to expose my secrets. I can't let that happen, Tom. Emma doesn't deserve this. You need to tell her the truth, Oliver. If Victoria knows, she could use it against you and Emma. And if you don't open up, you might end up losing her for good." Oliver shook his head, his heart tightening at the thought of that possibility. What if she doesn't forgive me? What if she thinks everything we've built was a lie? I can't risk losing everything we've created, even though it's been such a short time. But you also can't live a lie forever. The truth always comes to light sooner or later. If you love Emma, you need to be honest with her, Tom insisted. Oliver felt a knot form in his stomach. He knew Tom was right, but the fear of losing Emma paralyzed him. What would she think upon learning that the man she was starting to love was, in fact, a millionaire? What if she felt betrayed? He needed time to think. It was then that Emma appeared, bringing a bright smile that made Oliver's heart race. "Hi, Joe. You're thinking too much again?" She approached, sitting beside him. "Are you okay?" "I am," he replied, trying to hide his worry. "Just thinking about life." Emma looked into his eyes, her expression showing that she wasn't convinced. "You know, you're an incredible guy. Sometimes I just wonder what's going on in your head. You seem so wise, but also so sad. It's just things from the past, I guess. We all have our struggles, right?" Oliver said, forcing a smile. "How's your mom? Have you been able to take good care of her?" "Yes, but it's a daily struggle. I do what I can, but sometimes I feel so alone, like I'm carrying the world on my shoulders." Emma sighed, looking at the ground. "But when I'm here with you, I feel like I can face anything." Those words hit Oliver like a punch in the stomach. He wanted to tell her the truth, but the moment felt so fragile. He didn't want to break the connection they were building. But then, in an instant, he decided he couldn't continue this charade. He needed to be honest. Emma, I need to tell you something. About me. About who I really am. She interrupted him, concern etched on her face. Joe, you can tell me anything. I'm here for you. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the truth on his shoulders. I'm not just a beggar, I'm Oliver Harrington, a millionaire. I disguised myself because I wanted to understand the lives of people living on the streets, and I didn't want you to see me as someone who has everything. Emma's expression changed from concern to disbelief. What? You're a millionaire? The pain in her eyes was palpable, and Oliver felt his heart sink. I know this sounds like a lie, but I never meant to deceive you. I just wanted to know you without all the money and fame. All I wanted was a true connection, and you made me feel that. Emma stood up, her gaze fixed on the ground, struggling to process everything she had just heard. I need some time, Joe. This is too much for me to handle. And with that, she walked away, leaving Oliver alone, lost in a sea of regret and despair. Oliver sat on a wooden bench in the park, the sun beginning to set on the horizon, painting the sky orange and pink. Despite the beauty around him, his heart felt heavy. He stared at the ground, reflecting on the connection he had built with Emma and the weight of the truth he still carried. The disguise of Joe had given him moments of authenticity, but the shadow of his true identity loomed over him like a dark cloud, ready to burst. After a while, Emma approached, her expression curious and cautious. Hi, Joe, she said softly, sitting beside him. You seem distant. What's going on? Oliver turned to her, his gaze meeting Emma's. He could see the concern in her eyes, the genuine care she held, but the thought of opening his heart, of exposing his true identity, felt as terrifying as it was liberating. I was thinking about some things, he replied, his voice trembling. About life, about what it means to be who we are. Emma frowned, intrigued. You're making me worried. If there's anything I can do to help, please tell me. Emma, there's something you need to know about me, Oliver began, his voice almost a whisper. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not just a beggar. She pulled back slightly, her expression confused. What do you mean? You're Joe, a guy who has been a light in so many people's lives. But I'm not just that, he insisted, the pain in his voice growing. I'm Oliver Harrington. I'm a millionaire. I disguised myself to find a truth I've never been able to see in my privileged life. Silence hung between them, and Emma looked at him, stunned. You're joking, right? This can't be true. I know it sounds crazy, he continued, the agonizing need to be honest battling against the fear of losing her. I saw the emptiness at parties, the superficiality of the people around me. I wanted a taste of the authenticity I saw on the streets, and that's why I chose to live as a beggar. You showed me what it means to be human, what it means to love and care genuinely. Emma closed her eyes, absorbing the revelation. But why didn't you tell me sooner? I trusted you, Joe. Everything we shared, all the conversations, was it all a lie? No, it wasn't a lie, he hurriedly said, his voice shaking. I didn't lie about my feelings for you. Every moment I spent with you was real. I fell in love with you, Emma. That doesn't change, even if I hid my identity. How can I believe you now? Emma asked, tears beginning to slide down her cheeks. You built a life on top of a lie, and I don't know if I can deal with this. Oliver felt his heart shatter at the sight of the pain on her face. I understand that you are hurt. I just wanted you to see me for who I am, not for the money or the status. You're the only person who has truly made me feel alive without masks. Emma shook her head, confusion evident in her eyes. And what if this is all just a game for you? What if you decide to go back to your life of luxury and forget about me? No, Emma, he pleaded, holding her hand. I don't want to go back to that life. I want to build something real with you. I want to be a man who makes a difference, who helps others. I want to be by your side no matter what. She pulled away, her gaze filled with pain and distrust. But how can I trust you now? You've already deceived me once. I know it was a mistake and I deeply regret it, he said, frustration and sadness mingling in his voice. But please believe me when I say I want to be better. I am not the same man who walked into that party, and you helped me see that. Emma stood up, her body tense. I need time to think, Joe. This is a lot to process. I don't know if I can keep going like this. Oliver watched as she walked away, his heart sinking into an abyss of despair. He knew he had risked everything, to be honest, but the price could be losing the only person who truly mattered to him. And as the sun set, casting shadows over the park, Oliver felt that perhaps the truth wasn't as liberating as he had imagined. The atmosphere in the grand hall of the beauty contest was electric, the spotlights illuminating the anxious faces of the competitors and the audience. Oliver, dressed in a simple outfit that didn't fully hide the air of sophistication he carried, felt his heart race. He was about to face the biggest challenge of his life. The final of the beauty contest was the perfect stage for Victoria James, the cunning organizer, to put her plan into action. She was determined to expose Oliver as the millionaire he was, and he knew the moment was approaching. As the judges prepared for the final vote, Oliver cast a quick glance at Emma, who was seated among the spectators. She looked radiant, but there was a shadow of worry on her face. He wished she knew that every word he had spoken to her, every shared laugh was genuine. However, at that moment, uncertainty hung between them like a heavy cloud. "Joe, are you ready for this?" Tom, his best friend, asked, approaching him. Oliver could sense the tension in Tom's voice, a concern that mirrored his own anguish. "I don't know, Tom. If she exposes me, everything I've built with Emma could come crashing down," Oliver replied, his eyes fixed on the audience, where Emma was watching him with a mix of expectation and apprehension. "You need to be strong. If Victoria tries something, you have to stand firm. No matter what happens, she can't take away what you feel for Emma," Tom said, giving Oliver an encouraging pat on the back. The music stopped, and the announcer with an imposing voice declared it was time for the revelations. "Welcome to the final of the Brighton Beauty Contest. Tonight we have a special surprise." He glanced at Victoria, who stood beside him with a mischievous smile. "We're ready to hear the inspiring stories of our contestants. However, there is something that needs to be clarified," Victoria said, a glint of malice in her eyes. "Before we continue, I would like to call someone very special to the stage." Murmurs rose in the audience as Victoria turned to Oliver. "Joe, or rather Oliver Harrington, please come up here." Oliver felt his heart drop to his feet. Silence fell over the room like a heavy cloak. He hesitated for a moment, then decided he couldn't let himself be intimidated. He walked to the stage, his gaze fixed on Emma, who now wore an expression marked by confusion and disbelief. The announcer looked at Oliver, who was visibly nervous but determined. "Are you willing to share your story, Oliver?" "Yes," Oliver said, his voice steady, though his heart raced. "What Victoria said is true. I am Oliver Harrington, and yes, I am a millionaire. But that doesn't define who I am. I disguised myself as a beggar to better understand the world outside the bubble I lived in." The audience was in shock, and Emma stood up, her gaze locked on Oliver. "How could you?" she murmured, her words filled with pain and betrayal. "Emma, please let me explain," Oliver pleaded, his voice heavy with emotion. "What I found on the streets made me realize how lost I was amid luxury. You are the only person who made me feel human again." At that moment, a competitor, a young man who had observed the growing tension, found the courage to speak up. "Victoria, you're manipulating all of this. Oliver isn't a villain. He doesn't deserve this." The young man's words echoed through the hall, beginning to shift the atmosphere. The audience started murmuring, rallying in support of Oliver. "Victoria, you can't do this. He's not the problem here," another competitor shouted. Oliver felt a wave of hope, but Victoria's glare was filled with fury. "You all don't understand. He must be exposed. This is a beauty contest, not a platform for your lies." Applause and shouts of support began to swell, and Oliver realized the audience was beginning to unite against Victoria. He took a deep breath and decided it was time to fully reveal himself. "Victoria, I refuse to be your pawn. I love Emma and I want her to know the truth," Oliver declared, looking directly at her. "I'm not a perfect man, but I am genuine. And today, in front of all of you, I choose to be honest." He turned to Emma, his eyes filled with pain and expectation. "Emma, I never wanted to hurt you. I wanted you to know me for who I truly am, without the walls of my past. Please give me a chance to explain." The room was silent, and Oliver's heart raced as he waited for Emma's reaction. The audience was enveloped in a hushed awe, the murmurs of shock spreading like a wave around the hall. Oliver Harrington, now exposed before everyone, felt his heart race in a mix of fear and hope. He had chosen to reveal himself, not just as Joe, the beggar who had found love and understanding, but as Oliver, the millionaire living in a world of superficiality. The impact of his words still echoed in the air. "I am Oliver Harrington, and I love Emma." Emma, however, was in shock. Her eyes widened as she processed the revelation. Confusion enveloped her like a thick fog. What did this mean for her? For everything they had built? She stepped back, running her fingers through her hair, trying to find a solution to the storm of emotions that threatened to consume her. What was she supposed to feel? Betrayal? Love? Disillusionment? "Emma, I didn't want you to find out like this," Oliver said, his voice trembling yet firm. "I just wanted to get to know you for who you truly are, away from everything I am, away from the money, the fame. I never wanted you to feel like a trophy." "But you deceived me," Emma replied, her voice choked with emotion. "You made me believe you were someone you're not. How can I trust you now?" She looked at him, her eyes brimming with frustration and pain. "I understand. I'm an idiot for not being honest from the start. But believe me, what I feel for you is genuine. You've changed my life, Emma. You've shown me what really matters," Oliver pleaded, his eyes burning with sincerity. At that moment, Tom, Oliver's best friend, who had been watching from a distance, noticed that the situation was escalating. He stepped closer, realizing the crowd was starting to take sides, whispering about Victoria's manipulation and Emma's emotional turmoil. Tom decided to intervene. "Hey everyone, let's give them some space to. This isn't just about Oliver and Emma. It's about all of us," he said, raising his hand to calm the audience. The crowd hesitated, but supportive voices began to emerge. "Let them talk. Emma, listen to him. We want to know the truth." The encouraging words from the crowd seemed to wrap around Emma like a warm embrace. "You know that Victoria isn't who she seems, right?" Tom continued, turning to Emma. "She manipulated all of this. Oliver tried to be honest, but he got caught in a no-win situation. Now it's your turn to decide." Oliver summoned his courage and turned back to Emma. "You don't have to forgive me right now. I just want you to know that my love for you is real. I want to be better for you." At that moment, a growing murmur spread through the crowd. People began to stand up, supporting Oliver and Emma, as if the collective energy was shifting the atmosphere in the room. Oliver looked around and realized that most people weren't there to judge them, but rather to understand the complexity of the situation. "Emma," Oliver said, stepping a little closer, "I'm not perfect, but I want to fight for you, for us. If you give me a chance, I promise I'll never hide anything again. You're the only thing that truly matters now." She looked at him, her internal struggle still evident on her face. The truth of his words resonated within her, but the wound of betrayal was still fresh. "And what if I can't trust you again?" Emma questioned, vulnerability in her voice touching everyone's heart. "Trust takes time, I know, but I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to do whatever it takes," Oliver replied, the sincerity in his gaze leaving no doubt about his intentions. The audience, now fully engaged, fell silent again, awaiting Emma's response. The tension was palpable, and everyone anxiously awaited a resolution. Emma took a deep breath, her thoughts tumultuous, but deep down, a part of her knew that something special existed between them, something worth fighting for. But before she could respond, a piercing scream cut through the hall, interrupting the tense moment. "Oliver, you can't just hide behind a disguise and expect everything to be okay." The shout came from Victoria, who, furious, was trying to regain control of the situation. And so, Oliver and Emma's story was far from over. The final confrontation was about to unfold, and the revelations that would come to light would change everything once again. The park was tranquil, with the afternoon sun filtering through the leaves of the trees, creating a mosaic of light and shadow on the grass. Emma sat on a bench, her heart heavy and her mind confused. The last few hours had been a whirlwind of emotions. She felt betrayed not only by Joe but also by herself, for allowing herself to be swept away by a connection that now felt like an illusion. As she watched children playing and people strolling by, a weight settled in her chest. What she felt for Joe was real, but how could she trust someone who had concealed the truth from her? She got lost in her thoughts, recalling the laughter and deep conversations she had shared with him, the way he seemed to understand her pains, as if he knew what it was like to fight for someone you loved. Suddenly, Emma heard footsteps approaching. Looking up, she saw Oliver, now without his disguise but with a face etched with pain and regret. He walked slowly, hesitantly, as if each step was a challenge. The look in Oliver's eyes was full of emotion, and at the same time a vulnerability she had never seen before. "Emma," he began, his voice trembling, "I know you're hurt and I can't change that, but I need you to listen to me." She crossed her arms, deciding it wouldn't be easy for him. What he had to say might not be enough to erase the feeling of betrayal that consumed her. What can you say that justifies all the lies? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady, but feeling the fragility behind her words. Oliver took a deep breath, struggling against the tears that threatened to fall. I never wanted to hurt you. When I disguised myself as a beggar, it was to find something real, something I can't have in my world, and I found it in you. I fell in love with your kindness, your strength, but I was wrong not to tell you the truth from the beginning. Emma looked away, unable to meet his gaze. You didn't just hide who you are. You lied about everything. How can I trust you now? I understand how this looks, and I can't ask you to forgive me right away, but I want to be honest with you now. Oliver stepped forward, determination growing in his eyes. My childhood was difficult, and I always felt trapped in a world where people only care about status and money. When I met you, I realized my life could be different. You taught me that human connections are what really matter. Emma felt a tightening in her heart. His sincerity was palpable, yet past insecurities began to surface. And what if all of this is just a game to you? She questioned, her voice wavering. What if I'm just an experiment for you? No, Emma, Oliver exclaimed, his voice filled with emotion. You are not an experiment. You are the only person who made me feel truly alive. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, but what I feel for you is real. I can't change what I did, but I can promise you that I will fight to regain your trust. She looked at him, tears welling in her eyes. Emma knew she needed to make a decision. The love she felt for him was genuine, but the fear of being hurt again paralyzed her. Oliver sensed her hesitation and continued, his voice now softer. Please, Emma, give me a chance to show you that I can be the person you deserve. I don't want to hide who I am anymore, and I want you to know that my love for you is real. Silence. The wind blew gently, and Emma felt the weight of her emotions. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. I don't know if I can trust again, but I also can't ignore what I feel for you. Oliver took a step closer, hope shining in his eyes. Then let's take it one step at a time. We can start with the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I want to show you that I'm more than just a millionaire. I want to be someone who makes a difference in your life. Emma took a deep breath, feeling a wave of emotion. I don't promise anything right now, Oliver, but I'm willing to try. A shy smile appeared on Oliver's face, and he extended his hand, waiting for her to accept it. Emma looked at his hand, and after a moment of hesitation, intertwined her fingers with his. The contact brought a wave of warmth and hope, a reminder that despite past mistakes, the connection they had built still had the potential to flourish. With the truth about Victoria's manipulations finally exposed, the atmosphere in Brighton began to change. The community, once divided by intrigue and distrust, now united in a collective effort to support Emma and Oliver. The city, known for its bright lights and bustling beaches, was transforming into a place of solidarity. Oliver, still reeling from the revelation of his true identity, felt more determined than ever to use his wealth and influence to make a difference. He knew that Emma's mother's health was a priority, and as he looked at the young woman he loved, he realized he couldn't just hide behind his fortune. Deep down, Emma, this isn't just about me. It's about all of us, he said as they walked along the beach at dawn. The lives of the people we know on those streets, their stories. All of this made me realize I want to do more. Emma looked at him, her eyes shining with a mix of gratitude and apprehension. Are you really willing to help? What if that means exposing yourself again? What will people think of you now? It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is how we can help. Together we can make a real difference, Oliver replied, holding her hand firmly. They decided that the first step would be to organize a community event to raise funds for Emma's mother's treatment and, hopefully, to help others in the community who needed support. With the idea in mind, Emma and Oliver began planning the event. We need a venue that is accessible to everyone and brings a sense of unity, Emma suggested, while they sat at a local cafe, surrounded by the smell of fresh coffee and warm bread. Maybe we could use the Central Park. It's a place everyone knows and loves. Perfect, and we can invite local artists to perform. That would bring a sense of community and fun, Oliver replied, excited. I'll use my contacts to get some donations and sponsorships. We can make something big happen. The two worked tirelessly, and soon news of the event began to spread. The residents of Brighton, touched by Emma and Oliver's story, came together. I never thought I'd see a millionaire so involved like this. It's incredible, commented one of the homeless people Oliver had met during his time in disguise. He's not like the others. He really cares. When the day of the event arrived, the park was filled with people, all eager to participate and contribute. Emma, wearing a simple yet beautiful dress, felt nervous, but Oliver's presence by her side calmed her. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, holding her hand. "I am. I just hope we can raise enough," Emma replied, looking at the crowd gathering around the stage. "Don't worry. The most important thing is that everyone is here, ready to help." "That's already a victory," Oliver reassured her. The event kicked off with musical performances and heartfelt speeches from people who had benefited from the community's help. Emma stepped onto the stage, her heart racing. "Thank you all for being here today. This event isn't just for me, but for everyone who needs support. Each of you makes a difference," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Applause echoed, and Oliver watched with pride. He knew that regardless of his identity, what truly mattered was the connection they were creating with the people around them. As the donations were collected, Oliver dedicated himself to speaking with the community. "I know I'm a stranger to many of you, but I'm here to help. Together we can make Brighton a better place," he declared, receiving approving looks and smiles. At the end of the day, when the numbers were counted and the donations totaled, Emma and Oliver were overwhelmed. "We did more than we expected," Emma exclaimed, her eyes shining with joy. "This is just the beginning, Emma. We'll continue to help, not just you and your mother, but everyone who needs it," Oliver promised, his heart full of hope. And so, united by the strength of love and the determination to make a difference, they were ready to face whatever came next, confident that together they could transform not only their lives, but the lives of many others. Oliver stood before an audience filled with people at an awards ceremony that had become a milestone in his life. The auditorium buzzed with vibrant energy, and all eyes were fixed on him. He could feel the anticipation in the air, a mix of curiosity and admiration. With a nervous smile, he took a deep breath before addressing the microphone. "Good evening, everyone," he began, his voice resonating softly through the space. "Today is a very special day for me, not just because I'm here, but because I get to share something that has changed my life in ways I never imagined." He paused, taking in the familiar and new faces in the audience, including Emma, who watched him with shining eyes filled with support and love. "When I entered this contest, I wasn't just a millionaire disguised as a homeless man. I was lost, trying to figure out who I really am. The experience taught me about the true essence of people, about empathy and compassion. What started as a superficial competition transformed into a platform for supporting social causes," he continued, his voice gaining strength. "And that's why I promise we will no longer allow superficiality to define what we do here." The audience erupted in applause, and Oliver smiled, his heart warmed by the acceptance and affection he felt emanating from the crowd. He looked at Emma, who was beside him, visibly emotional. She was the reason everything made sense. "I am excited to announce alongside Emma that the Brighton Beauty Pageant will transform into an event dedicated to noble causes. Our goal will be to promote authenticity, solidarity, and real change in people's lives," Oliver declared, gazing at Emma with a look that said more than words could express. Emma, so caught up in the speech, now found the courage to speak up. She stepped closer to the microphone, her heart racing. "I never imagined my life would take this turn. When I met Joe, I saw a man who, despite his appearance, carried a wisdom that few understand. He taught me the importance of human connection," she began, "and I promise that as the new organizer of this pageant, I will do my best to ensure our initiatives help those who truly need it." The audience cheered her words, and Oliver felt a wave of pride swell in his chest. He had never imagined he could feel such deep and sincere love for someone, and Emma was there, by his side, ready to face the world together. After the speeches, Oliver pulled Emma to a quieter corner of the stage. He took something out of his pocket, and with a nervous smile said, "I want you to have this." It was a delicate necklace that had belonged to his mother. He had kept this piece of jewelry as a symbol of love and loss, and now he wanted to pass it on to Emma. "Oliver, this is beautiful," Emma said, looking at the necklace with tear-filled eyes. "But why do you want to give this to me?" "Because you are not just a part of my life, Emma. You have taught me about true love, about struggle and resilience. I have already lost my mother, and I never thought I could love someone again like this. This necklace symbolizes not only the connection we have, but also the life we are building together," Oliver explained, his voice choked with emotion. Touched by his sincerity, Emma accepted the necklace with trembling hands. "I promise I will honor this and everything you represent, Oliver. Together, we will make a difference, she said, placing the necklace around her neck. The moment was magical, and the audience, watching intently, began to applaud again. But now it was not just for the pageant or the new initiative. They were celebrating the genuine connection that had blossomed between two souls who, despite the adversities, had found love and purpose. The auditorium filled with positive vibrations as Oliver and Emma exchanged glances, recognizing that, together, they could face any challenge life threw at them. True beauty, after all, was not in appearances but in the ability to love and do good for others. We have reached the end of this touching story. If you enjoyed it and want to see more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Right now, there's a playlist of videos on your screen. If you want to continue watching these heartfelt stories, just click on it to start. And now, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from and leave your like to support our work. Now, a sincere question. Do you agree with what happened in the story? We want to know your opinion. Until the next video.